hell, we're over halfway through the tournament or through the season already. Isn't that kind of crazy? Or at least the regular season, that is. This actually, no, we're halfway through the entire season as well. So, and to join me in this, and I didn't even hide him at the beginning of the show. Geez, what an amateur I am. Hi, by the way. Hi, I'm Paul, guy behind DrivingMaul. Obviously, we're talking about round 6. We'll have a look forward at round 7, and we'll also talk Farah Palmer Cup. And when I say we, you can see him already. It's the one, the only, Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir?
Very good. Thank you, Paul. Once again, privilege and a pleasure to be on the TDM and talking about the heartbeat and soul of New Zealand rugby, the Mitre 10 Cup.
See, I put out a little poll on Facebook saying, what is the hipster rugby tournament? The Mitre 10 Cup show, the Mitre 10 is... the Mitre 10 Cup is topping that poll at the moment as to being the hipster rugby tournament. So there you go, folks. It's a bit like craft beer, beards, and I'm not sure what else hipsters do because I'm not really, because as you can tell, I don't have the beard. So yes, whatever hipsters do, this is what you're kind of watching. I forgot to tweet this out, so I'm just going to tweet out the link now. But we kicked off the weekend with Waikato versus Hawke's Bay. I predicted Waikato, but Hawke's Bay got up 24-47. Really? 24-47? Is it that bad?
27-24.
There you go. That's what I was going to say. It didn't feel that bad. That's a typo by me. 24-27. That sounds a lot more like what I thought I'd watched at the weekend. It was a game that, I'll be honest, Waikato were very frustrated about come at the end of it. Let's be honest. But it was kind of interesting that Waikato were turning down so many kicks of 3 at the post. Some teams seem to get it and some teams don't. And I don't. This idea of trying to force pressure against a team like Hawke's Bay. Now, against Hawke's Bay, not a team that kind of if you control their line-out mauls, you've got a good chance against them. I would think you'd want to take your 3s.
Yeah, anything on offer, and if you are going to have a crack at them at line-out time, not only do they're very good at the attacking line-out and drive mauling, but they're also very good at defending it as well. Of course, it was a strange start to the game because only 3 minutes gone, and we've got to mention that pretty amazing try that Lincoln McClutchie scored from good. Where did he take the kick? Well, he took the pass probably about 40 odd metres out, and pretty much just ghosted his way through almost half the Waikato team. People falling off tackles. He converts it, and then not long after that, several minutes later, he kicks a penalty, and they're up 10-0. And it looked like it was going to be a tough night for Waikato.
It did, but when we talk about, I talk a lot about Hawke's Bay line-out maul. So I expect Hawke's Bay, I expect Bay of Plenty, I expect these sort of teams to go for the corner. But Hawke's Bay didn't. They took the 3 because they've got a great line-out maul, so why not use it? Whereas Waikato, they've got they're much more reliant on players like Wainui, like I've gone blank. Like Tapaya to make those breaks to cause that damage. Actually, hang on, Wainui's
Taranaki, yeah.
Who am I thinking of?
You were swinging.
Solomalo.
Alamalo. And that was his first start in the Mitre. I think that was his first. That was his debut for Waikato, wasn't it?
That was his debut for Waikato. Yes. So you got Waikato much more reliant on those sort of guys to do the business. So yeah, it was all sort of back to front as far as I thought. Lack of composure for Waikato, I think at times in this one.
Yeah.
And we definitely see that in a few of these teams that have got quite a lot of young players. Getting the yellow card was really key for helping Waikato with this one. And I just remembered that I went down at halftime to do my halftime report with Michael Pullman, and then left my book down there, so I've got no notes from the second half. So Waikato did come back into it in that first half, we're perhaps a bit lucky to be up at half time.
Yeah, I thought that second quarter, they were very good. They worked their way back into the game. On the back of that, they kept picking up penalties as well. But also, you've got to say, just their line out was a real issue. The throwing of Takiaho is a very good footballer around the ground, but yeah, he was his darts weren't straight on the night. They just weren't finding their markers. Yeah, just a couple of other little things as well. Just that change at first five with Rivers Rayhana, you kind of wonder if they should have started with Fletcher Smith as well, Paul.
Yeah, well, Fletcher Smith was topping the Dwayne Monkley medal going into this round. I'm not sure if he still is on 9 points. So he'd got the equivalent of 3 man of the matches in the opening 5 rounds. I think this was a matter just of resting Fletcher Smith. Rivers Rayhana has been playing at fullback, which is out of position for him. He's normally a 10, but he's been playing there because of injury. Because of injuries, I think having Solomon Alamalo back meant that they actually suddenly they had enough players that they could give him a start or give him some time at 10. I think it was just a matter of just trying to rest Fletcher Smith for this one, because it was early. This was the Thursday night game, so I think it might have been a short turnaround for Waikato.
I must admit, Paul, throughout the game, it seemed to me that Hawke's Bay probably got the run of the green with some of the refereeing decisions. You've got to say there were a couple of tries. The Lincoln McCutcheon try looked like it had a little bit of doubt about it. There was question marks on whether he'd actually forced it correctly. I won't say the term because I know it annoys the heck out of you, Paul.
No, go for it. Other people, it clearly is a Kiwi term that people were thinking, because everyone at the ground was like, he's bounced that. I'm like, I've never heard of someone talking about bouncing a try in Europe. It's just not a term you kind of use. But effectively, what we're saying here is lack of control, because no one was suggesting he didn't have contact all the way down, but everyone was going, he's not got control of that, because as soon as it hit the ground, it bounced out. But that's fine as long as you got contact. Who cares? From my mind,
it's quite interesting. Both those yellow cards had key moments, because you had the likes of Emerson yellow carded, and a minute later Waikato scored to get the lead at half time, and then basically Waikato went ahead, and it looked like they were just about to take control of the game. They went out to 19 points to 10, and then of course Hawke's Bay hit back with a try to Whakatava, converted by McClutchie, and then of course another little key moment was Shalfoon, the lock for Waikato, getting yellow carded.
Yep.
and just in that time Hawke's Bay were able to add a couple of tries, and that was pretty much the game, but for a bit of a late comeback from Waikato, and anybody who turned up to the game got their money's worth with about 3 or 4 minutes overtime.
Yeah, and look, Waikato had the ball, so they had the opportunity to go ahead at the end there, but they just couldn't. They just couldn't nail that final piece. This is the second time, so they lost to North Harbour on the buzzer last weekend. This one went all the way to the buzzer as well. I think they're getting a bit. They've had enough of these kind of at the buzzer kind of things. So yes, we followed that one up on Friday night with Northland versus Canterbury. This was a game that we were both at. I put Canterbury by 20 in our predictions, and they ended up winning at 12-42. So that was that was kind of that was, well, I was perhaps being a bit nice. 7:22 at half time. This game really did not. This game was really kind of all over by about the 35th minute. I want to say George, but is that right? Fullback or Gregory at fullback, isn't it? And Debrasini had a bit of shocker under the high balls tonight, and things just did not go Northland's way. Once even when for one of those tries, Debrasini goes up, it bounces off him, and bounces straight into McKay's hands, and then he collects it and runs all the way. Northland's errors. Both you and Dean Kenny were seething in the car on the way home as to just Northland's errors didn't help themselves either. But I say every bounce of the ball went against them in this one.
Yeah, it's the story of their season. I think what you were trying to say at the beginning, as a game, I don't think it reached any great great heights. There were a lot of stoppages in the first half. When Canterbury lost, I think they lost about 3 players in all, if I recall. I think Braden Eno came off, try scorer Sam Gilbert. He took a bit of a head knock, and of course Luke Whitelott. So you actually saw all these changes, but I was really impressed with the way that Fitu Douglas actually came in. Obviously, he's obviously one of the senior players in the team. Just really took control of the team, and not just Fitu Douglas, but also Brett Cameron. He had a pretty poor night off the tee, but I thought his general play was superb. I interviewed Brett at the end of the game and just basically said, listen, with all the disruption, was there a sort of like a plan of thought that it would be better to sort of kick and put Northern under a bit of pressure via way of the kick with all the changes? And he said that's exactly what the plan was. And you've got to say it worked to a T. But from a Northern piece, if you're not diffusing these high kicks, it's going to cause you a lot of problems. And credit to Canterbury, even though with the disruptions, they still had the quality to finish any mistakes that Northern made.
Yeah, I had a chat with the head coach for Canterbury after this, and I asked, look, did the HIAs, did the changes, was that part of what's causing you some knock-ons and stuff? And he was like, no, we were making mistakes before we had the HIAs and Rusty. So no, it wasn't all down to that. Sure, they had to make 3 changes in that first half, but no, that they weren't executing well. Northland were executing even worse. And whilst, as you point out there, whilst Canterbury might not have been executing, they were playing a better game plan. Which worked into their favour. But yeah, far too many silly errors, and as I say, Northland were not in this once Canterbury got their necks in front and actually started ticking a little bit. I mean, we're even talking about, we had 2 missed penalties before half time, so it could have been even further out of sight for Canterbury. But yeah, some kicking boots missing this evening, that evening for Brett Cameron.
Yeah, really interesting. I was having a good chat with an email chat today with the editor of the Northern Advocate, Adam Pearce, and he made a couple of really good points with regards to this Northern team. They are basically getting, on a lot of occasions, getting burnt on the blind side.
Yep.
And a lot of the games that they played especially to go along with all the mistakes that they're making. So maybe just really lacking a little bit more pace in that loose forward trio. They started pretty well at set piece. I thought Issy Torangafasi in the early stages, I thought he did a good job up against Owen Franks. It's a very good scrummage. But even in the second half, once they made changes, their scrum was under pressure when it needed to be. And I found with the Northern attack, have to agree with what Adam had to say, I think the Northern attack, all they were really doing was pretty much passing. It was all really going sideways. There was nobody making any go forward. And credit to Canterbury, they used the gang tackle to very, very good effect. And I just want to highlight one young guy who I thought was pretty amazing in the game, and that's the New Zealand under-20s utility forward, Callum Grace. I thought for such a young guy, playing only his 2nd or 3rd game for Canterbury, I thought he was superb.
Cool, yeah, absolutely. So Canterbury go marching on, and after losing their first 3, they've now won their next. Was that round 6 or round 5? Yeah, it was round 6.
Round 6.
Yeah. So Canterbury have now won the next. So lost 3, won 3, and they've definitely got their march on and looking pretty and looking good for that top half of the table. For the top half of the table. Next up, Taranaki versus Bay of Plenty, and I'm just going to share a quick screenshot I took while I was watching this, or I would do if it would show the correct screen. I don't know why at the moment it won't show. Sorry, folks, but for some reason it just wants to show you my notes rather than actually show you my photo. How annoying is that? Show the preview, then I can actually you can see a photo of the silly. Okay. Whilst I'll struggle with that for a second, but essentially what we have here is Taranaki versus Bay of Plenty. Taranaki yellow with black stripes, and Bay of Plenty, yellow with darkish blue stripes or blue stripes. This one must be, as a player, must be a nightmare to try and figure out who you're actually passing.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Well, I suppose on the upside, it looked like a beautiful day down at Yarrow Stadium. Obviously, they've got the crowd a little bit closer to the touchline with a lot of the issues that they're having at Yarrows these days with those probably just temporary seating. So at least it brings the crowd closer to the touchline. Listen, for Taranaki, they started well. A beautiful set piece try early in the piece, and I think it was. I think it might have been Ross, the fullback, that raced into the corner and scored a try, and things were looking pretty handy for Taranaki. But one thing that Hawke's Bay, beg your pardon, Plenty, are doing very well is in the breakdown area. They put a lot of pressure on you in the breakdown area, and the sort of side, once they give them half an opportunity, they take their opportunities, and even if they've been behind for much of the half, they nailed 2 chances in the last 5 minutes of the first half to go in with a 17-10 lead, and then
it's kind of hard to tell off the TV sometimes, but they mentioned a couple of times that Bay of Plenty were playing into the wind, and I think there was a pretty stiff breeze out there, and Naki just did not take advantage of that in that first half. Because as you can see here, it's 10-17, and Bay of Plenty's two scores came from when they kept it in hand, and Judd and Tia combined nicely, and then they had a counter attack from a kick where they kept it in hand, and then come in the second half, and then the all you got to do is play that territory game, play with the wind, play a good with the wind at your back. And whilst it sort of sounds at 17:31 like it was a blowout, they scored on the hooter. So it was, I think they had the losing bonus point, Naki, all the way up until around about 2 or 3 minutes to go. So it was it was a bit closer than the scoreline suggests.
Yeah, well, they got back to 24-17 when Tay Walden scored his try. But one of the issues they had another couple of opportunities for points in the 61st and 64th minute, and unfortunately, Waite missed 2. What you'd actually consider 2 really reasonable kicks from a comfortable place on the field, and he pretty much missed those kicks. And of course, once Ravovo scored in the 77th minute, it was good as done, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But he was kicking into the wind. I don't know if he was trying to force it or whatever. Maybe that was part of it for missing those penalties. That definitely didn't help them. So Bay of Plenty and Hawke's Bay get 2 wins and really are showing themselves to be the class of that championship division at the moment. We then went on to a game of 2 halves. I think is perhaps the best way to put this one. Southland versus Manawatu. Oh dear, Southland. What do we say about Southland all season? They can score points. And unfortunately for them, Manawatu got Laumapi back, so they can now score points too. Which is perhaps slightly oversimplifying things. But Southland went out to had a great first half, went out to a 26-7 win, and everyone suddenly started paying attention to this game, because before that, I don't think anyone was really that fussed about this one, were they?
Well, I've got to say I missed the boat. I jumped on the TAB at halftime to see what Manawatu were paying, and they were paying about $9.
Oh,
I know, totally missed the boat on that one. And within 7 minutes when Laumapi scored his first try, I thought, yep, I've missed the bus there. But it started well for Southland. Mackenzie was pretty much, he was running the cutter. Ray knew, especially the second 5, was basically cutting up, getting over the advantage line, and they were looking really good at 26-7. So yeah, I don't know what Peter Russell, the Turbos coach, said to his team at halftime, and maybe what Dave Hewitt didn't say to his team at halftime for Southland. But no, it was really a complete turnaround, and by what you've got to remember, by the 56th minute, Manawatu had drawn back to 26-20, and You just knew this was only going one way. I checked the TAB odds again, and Manawatu were the favourites. So in the space of 20 minutes, they'd gone from $9 to about $1.80. Crazy.
Oh dear, nuts! Absolutely nuts. So yes, there you go. There goes Southland's one chance of the season to get their win out the window. Unfortunately, yeah, the ball
Yeah.
was well and truly dropped.
Paul, I got to say, I wonder if fitness might be an issue for this Southland team, because they just look out on their feet, and even when they had an opportunity, to basically they had to go 60, 70 metres, they really just didn't look capable of it, or nobody even in the team looked capable of doing the business. And at the end of the day, you could arguably say Manawatu probably won this game going away. And you're right. I thought great little cameo in that second half from Nani Lamapi, but I reckon they got a heck of a lot of mileage out of their bench. Manawatu, Fraser Armstrong, and the big two other big props, Asi and Tui Piloto, the really big number 8. Boy, didn't they add something when they actually came on the field. So the guys who came in off the bench, Grogan as well, the hooker, were just great value, and just gave them the go forward that they need. But no, good luck to the Turbos. Well done, didn't it? I thought they were toast at halftime.
Yeah, I say the problem that this Manawatu side has had has been scoring points this season. They've defended well, they've restricted other teams quite nicely, but they've just not scored them. So when they get that far behind, you think, wow, they're going to struggle to score the points. But having that Laumapi back has been a big change. Makes a big difference for them, especially when he's in that kind of form. As you say, that cameo, but that cameo meant that 2 tries in like the first, I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, and that just once you've got that momentum, everyone else suddenly starts to believe, and it just lifts everybody else, and they all go a bit further. But yeah, fitness and strength in depth. Yeah, the Southland bench, clearly 2 things that they just don't have. After that, we had Counties Manukau versus Auckland, a game I got to, and the one of the things we've been saying about this Auckland side, or one thing I've been saying about this Auckland side, is basically niggle, or off the ball antics, or whatever you want to call it. They're one of the one of those teams that seems to put a lot in, and yet again, Auckland get an early yellow card. Something like 12 minutes in, 70 minutes in, Akira Ioane was the
Culprit.
Was the culprit this time. Yeah, but he was four penalties in a row, all in their own 20, all sort of like 5 meters out. Off he went. So it was kind of a team penalty ish, and Counties basically just did not take advantage of that yellow card, and that was a bit. They didn't score while he was off. There were some real errors there for Counties in that time. It became a bit comical, and they only led 3-0 after that. I mean, a line-out maul, and it's 3-7 at half time. Auckland took one of their few chances in that game, in that first half. Sorry. Come the second half, we get a yellow for Manu for a tip tackle, and Auckland do take advantage of the yellow. Well, actually, not so more Ruru's yellow. Actually, when they take advantage, that's when they have their own yellow. But they sort of stretch the lead a little bit there, in that second half. Then Ruru got a yellow on 65 minutes, and Auckland seemed to be better without him, to be honest, because they scored 2 tries, or scored a try during that time, and that just basically pulled them away. Yeah, Counties will feel. They just didn't take their advantages, especially in that first half.
Oh, I don't disagree with anything that you say. I mean to say, there was I thought for Counties, and like I say, the first half was a bit of a hard watch, but it got better as the game sort of went along. But I thought Rarasia for Counties Manukau was an absolute trooper. Legia pretty tidy at first 5. I've got to say, Paul. He'd be a tidy acquisition into any Super Rugby side. But Auckland, despite their discipline issues, I mean, so to play the whole game to play 50 minutes of the game with only 14 men is
Well,
not
I suggest,
ideal.
for some reason there, I suggested that the county got yellow, didn't they? Sorry, all 3 yellows were for Auckland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all 3 yellows for Auckland. So for 50 odd minutes of this game, they actually they actually played with a man down. So a lot of guts. You've got to say they stuck it in there. Their scrum when they made changes to their scrum was just as strong. I thought that was one area where they actually had an edge on Counties Manukau, was probably just at scrum time. And I must admit they took advantages towards the end, and both Caleb Clark and also the fullback for Auckland. Oh my God! Even now my memory's going. Sorry, winger Ray.
Rayasi.
I mean to say these guys are great with ball in hand, aren't they?
They are. We've seen Clark show his skill and ability a number of times this season, and yeah, we can see why they're looking at him for the sevens for the Olympics that he's off to after this. We had a quick chat earlier about someone who we thought might be good for the sevens in Wes Husen. But yeah, after this, Caleb Clark told me that, because I asked him briefly if Akiri Iwani had thought about taking on sevens. He said that only one player per Super Rugby side was allowed to switch over, and he was the one that got it. So Akiri couldn't, even if he wanted to. I don't know if he did or not, but it just seemed because Akiri went to Atlanta, so I thought he was Atlanta where the last one was. No, Rio. Sorry, Rio.
Paul,
yep.
Paul, I've got to ask you. You were at the game. What was your take on Akiri Ioane's game?
Not much. I don't remember much of him in the game, to be honest with you.
No, I thought he was. Yeah, I was the same. I personally think he was. I personally think he was very quiet. Where you sort of looked at Blake Gibson's game, I thought Blake Gibson was very, very good in the pack. Blake Gibson and also Jack Wetton as well, and obviously some really good work from the front row for Auckland, and of course when you're fortunate enough to bring guys like Hodgman off the bench, that's not too bad, isn't it?
No, it's not too bad at all. But when I was looking at the county side ahead of this one, they had Williams and Gray on the bench, and I was looking to try and figure out who they were. Not easy, because so clearly counties have got a lot of injuries in that back division, and that's why I think that's why I think they've got probably I think there are a number of injury issues for this county side, which is why you've got Ledger at 10. I asked him whether he prefers 10 or 12, and he says he's happy wherever he plays. There's an issue with him on the channel on this channel from post that game, because I say he also looked good when he had that one or two games early season for the Chiefs as well, due to injuries at 10. So someone that I thought from the Blues he's as a centre, but has, as you say, has shown up well at 10 for a couple of games this season. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But you'd think he should be able to get something somewhere.
I think he's I'm going to say, Paul, he's actually quite an intelligent footballer. Like that little, there was an opportunity that he actually created. There was a little wrap round, found some space, accelerated through a hole, and probably made the mistake of actually popping the pass where I thought he should have just slid in, and he probably would have scored. And it was a real key moment for Counties Manukau.
There were a couple of times where Counties Manukau looked like they could have scored and could have gone well, but they just didn't. Yeah, they couldn't pull it off, and that was poor from them, really. Unfortunately, this is what this kind of thing happens. Moving on then, Wellington, Otago. I think this is probably a story of Otago's season, isn't it? Play really well at home, and then just can't find the energy and can't get up for away games when the Ranfurly Shield isn't on the line.
Yeah, it pretty. You've got to say it was a very comical start, unfortunately for Otago. I mean to say, Josh Ioane fielding actually was a comical start for both sides, if I recall. I think Wellington basically completely missed. They hashed the kickoff, and then they pretty much hoofed it up field into the arms of Ioane, and Ioane decided to send a long pass out to Purdy, and it ended up hitting the back of Tatikawa, and it pretty much unfortunately it set the scene for Otago, but it doesn't help when you're not tackling.
Absolutely not. And yeah, I mean, I logged in after 6 minutes and checked on my Twitter feed and said, look, yeah, 14-0 up. Yeah, Otago continue their inability to play in the North Island, which is what's basically been bugging them. The try bonus point was wrapped up by the half-hour mark. Yeah, Otago looked momentarily like they're going to make a fist of it by scoring, by sort of replying quite quickly to those opening two tries. But yeah, just lack of defence. And I gave up at half time on this one because there was it was already 28-5, and you're like, well, yeah, it's only going to go one way.
Well, just to give you an idea, Paul, if you look through the whole Wellington pack, Fido, Amua, Numia, Blackwell, and Karifi, Kafatolu, and Ben Nicholas, they were just showing up so much. It was ridiculous, and to make life even double, if you're not going to tackle these guys and they're going to get their offloading game, well, hey, guess what? It doesn't get any better when you've got a back line of Umanga Jensen, Arsenal, Wes Hooson, Ben Lamb, and Billy Proctor. Hello, it's going to be a heck of a long day at the office. I must admit, I hung in there, Paul, because I was in the hope that Otago would make a bit of a contest of it, but once again, just far too many basically errors. They needed a lot of their key guys to pretty much stand up. I wouldn't say Ioane was a shadow of the guy we saw in the test match against Tonga, but he certainly wasn't at his best. Made a couple of errors through an intercept, but you could see the nice little touches that he's got. But once again, they've got a few injuries in the midfield. I mean, to say Morris and Tatakawa are not normally they're basically their starting midfielders, and they also had the likes of Michael Collins, who's one of their co-captains. He was on the bench. Nareki, when they came on, John Latta. In fact, their bench added a little bit more, but in the main, they were pretty much chasing the game. One player I do want to highlight, or two players from Wellington, is Wes Hooson. God, that boy's quick. He's got some serious wheels. I've been told by some reliable sources that he's actually quicker than Beauden Barrett. Boy, that's saying something. If it's true, I'd like to know if it's sort of like over a continuous distance or 30 or 40 meters, but very, very sharp. But the player that caught my eye the most, I don't even know if he's actually signed by a Super Rugby team, is Te Ariki Ben Nicholas, originally out of King's College in Auckland. Now he's a Cook Island boy, not a Maori boy. He apparently used to have great battles with Akira Ioane when Akira was playing for Auckland Grammar. But this kid just looks the goods. Work rate for Africa, just so much pace as well, Paul, and got skill to boot. So I would be very surprised if he doesn't pick up a Super Rugby contract of sorts.
Yeah, and when you ran through those names in that pack, though, and you get Amua, Fidel, Blackwell, Karifi, they're all Super Rugby players. You look at the Otago one, and this is one of the problems that people we've been talking about with Southland, and one of the things we discussed on the drive back from Northland was, do you go out for players out your region? And you have to for the super quality, because Len Cheese is probably the only one, I think, there with much Super Rugby experience in that Otago pack. And when you've got 4 or 5 Super Rugby players against you, that's you're always going to come up short. We've got a couple of good questions in the chat that we'll get onto in a second, because we've just got to close out with one more game. Tasman versus North Harbour. And boy, North Harbour gave Tasman a bit of a scare in this one, didn't they?
Game of the weekend. and boy, you've got to say, listen, Amua got a yellow card in the 31st minute, but boy, you could basically argue that there could have been yellow cards handed out even earlier in this game, because I thought Harbour dominated that game for a very, very good part of that first 40 odd minutes. And at scrum time, well, they've certainly, my filio, say what you like about James Parsons, but he is a very good scrummager. And Carl Tunukiafi, they've been going well. In fact, that whole tight five for North Harbour has been going well. And sort of I'm wrapped for the boy Jacob Pearce as well. I actually rate him. He's a very, very good footballer. In fact, their whole pack showed out. Even the likes of Ethan Roots, I actually thought he had the better of our Liam Squire for a good part of that game. Unfortunately, rugby's about 80 minutes, pulled off 40 minutes, and Tasman slowly ground their way back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I saw tweets and comments saying, "Look, when it's a penalty try, you also give a yellow card, ref." So there were some, as you say, they could have been more yellow earlier, and that yellow would have been against Tasman as well. So Tasman perhaps a bit lucky. Home sides tend to get that kind of luck. Let's be honest, and that's not just Tasman. That's, I say, any home side. And as you say, then they came back, got their own penalty try in the second half, which is when we did see a yellow card go along with the yellow try, along with the penalty try. So yeah, perhaps a tad harsh done by for North Harbour, but congratulations on Tasman to say play the full 80 and just managed to see us one through. But this is the first time we've seen Tasman be troubled. At least it gives sides now an idea as to what you have to do to achieve that.
Yeah, I've also got to say, probably looking a little bit vulnerable. But I'm saying that, man, there's still a lot of Super Rugby experience there, isn't it? With the I'm just looking at their front row of Perry, Moley and Salmon. Now Salmon, Isaac Salmon was a guy that was picked in the Blues, not last year or the year before, but never ever got used because of injury. So he's obviously highly rated by somebody. But I'll tell you what, the front row of Malfilio Parsons and Tunukiafi just absolutely took them to the cleaners. And if you look through the rest of the team, man, there's still a lot of Super Rugby talent in that team. But I do believe they are missing the likes of your tight head prop. Tyrell Lomax is the best of their props, but all of a sudden they're starting to look a bit mortal after looking not so subhuman maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and maybe Amali at 10 is he's been playing is so again another 10 missing. I've gone blankers to the Tasman 10 is normally, that's definitely not him. Because Hunt's at Christchurch. Hunt's at
Mitchell Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, so Mitchell Hunt was missing, which is that's who it is. So maybe that was part of it, but yet there's no excuses when you've got, as you say, 2 super players in your front row: Parkinson, Strange, Havili, Tafua, Squire. So you've got 6 out of your 8 of your pack are super players. You've got David Havili and Will Jordan who can both step in and help Tim O'Malley out. And when you've got players like Ethan Blackadder coming off the bench, there's absolutely no excuses for Tasman on that score.
Yeah, and speaking off the bench, I think that's where they got a bit of pay dirt as well, Paul, because you had the likes of Ethan Blackadder come off the bench. I thought he was superb. The other Whaia Nuku came off the bench. It's bad enough there's one of them, but there's 2 of them that you've got after. And then you get somebody like Crockett off the bench, so they had enough quality. You saw Harbour. I don't know if they got a lot off their bench, and just the fact that they just did not get any field position whatsoever in that second half, and I think that was probably one of the real key things. And whenever they did get an opportunity to get in the half, probably just didn't take it. But game of the weekend, though, Paul, it really was a good game. It seemed to have it had an intensity throughout the whole 80 minutes.
Yep, definitely. Right, we're just going to get on to a couple of questions from the live chat. Hi, David McAlpine, who says, Hey lads, do you think it's fair that a team can lose 2012 and get no points, but Otago can lose 54-24 and come away with one point? Now this is the old try bonus points. Should try bonus points be awarded for 4 tries? Basically, I think is where he's going.
Yeah, listen. He makes a really good point. It's just the rules. I must admit, I'm not comfortable with it. Because you're kind of getting rewarded for a bit of mediocrity, if you know what I pour.
Yeah, you
But
are.
it's in the rules.
Absolutely, it's in the laws, and that's all the rules that is in this one. And should we be expecting 52-24? Not really. Games should be decided at around about the 20 odd points mark for the winners. All right, and the fourth try should be the exception, or should be something special rather than we always get 4 tries even when we lose, kind of thing. And so I think there's an element here about it being about this basically perhaps not being as competitive some of these games as they should be, and that comes about because we have got these or at least partially because we've got these crossover games from Championship to Premiership. Now I understand that Super Rugby and the top 14 have changed to a three tries more than the opposition to give bonus points. That's the but every other competition in the world has 4 tries, including things like the Rugby World Cup, etc. So it's. I think perhaps it's a matter of imbalance in the competition more than anything else
Yeah,
on that side of things.
I was about to say, Paul. Sometimes you also get the situation where one team is so far ahead, they clear their bench. Um, the bench doesn't always add value. They drop their standards, and the other side gets virtually really easy points, if you know what I mean. So it's frustrating. Listen, I can probably identify with the guy who's jumped on the website and mentioned the point. It's a good point. It's a beauty, actually.
As the Americans call it, garbage time points.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the one. Another question here, which I think you'll have the answer for. Where is the Prince of Pace Ranger? Now, to be fair to you, now, sorry, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of your name, my friend. Moliefa. I don't think Ranger has been a Prince of Pace for a couple of years now, but yeah. I think what you've got your Northland jersey on. So what have you heard out of Northland about Ranger?
Yeah, it's
From
quite
a fitness point of
interesting.
view.
Well, listen, it's a bit of a breaking story, isn't it? With Ranger, well, he obviously top of the season playing for the Sunwolves. He had a 1-year contract with the Sunwolves, but pretty much did his ACL at the top of the season. He's been in rehab. Northland were hoping to use him, but I understand it's highly unlikely that he's going to turn out for Northland. He might pick up a game the very last of the season. But the word I'm pretty much hearing is in negotiations with the Crusaders. And I pretty much had it confirmed today that is true. He's talking with Scott Robertson. As you know, Scott Robertson, they've lost the likes of Ryan Crotty, but they've also lost Tim Bateman as well. So that's a couple of really experienced guys. And if you look at their lineup for next year, with Goodhue and also with Enoa, probably the other options in midfield, you could probably put Havili into the midfield. I understand they have signed another young midfielder, but I don't know who that is. A little bit of speculation. It could be the boy Dallas McLeod from the New Zealand 20s. So it kind of makes sense to have an experienced head around. But from what I'm led to believe, Robinson's sort of 50-50 on it. And I suppose a lot's going to depend on Rangers' rehab, if you know what I mean.
And then David follows up with that one and says, where are we on Northland? So while we're on Northland, why do they stink this year? Last they improved a heap, but they have now gone backwards. Rather than rather than we'll have Stephen talk about this because he'll get too head up and we'll have to call an ambulance for his heart attack. The But from let me talk about this one. Basically, Northern lost around about 7 players in the off season that went to other places. Quite a few of them who would be in that starting 23. They've got another 8 players injured who would be in that starting 23 as well. So they've got about 15 players missing that they had last year in that in their starting 23. And with that amount, the teams at this level cannot have 8 injuries and still continue, especially when those injuries include Tom Robinson, Mould, Matthew Wright, as you mentioned there, David. When you're losing Super Rugby players like Tom Robinson, and you're trying to and you have to replace them with club players, the drop is pretty big, and it's a lack of depth in Northern that's really hurt them this year, and injuries basically. I don't think much has changed on the coaching side, but it's just around that. It's around those injuries. So if they get the players back, then hopefully we'll see some better performances.
Yeah, and not to mention some of the guys who should be taking ownership of the team have just basically not stood up. Like you've got guys in the midfield like Tavai Tula, Blake O'Hire, Matt Johnson, who's an experienced footballer, but those guys just really haven't fired this year. I think they suffer a little bit because they haven't got a specialist 7. I don't care what level of rugby you play. I think you've got to have a specialist 7, and they may have needed to have gone to the market. Injuries haven't helped them, but I must admit I've been commentating for Radio Sport since 2011. I think I called my first game, and there's been a couple of lean seasons, probably a few seasons back, where once again new coaches under Richie Harris and Dale McLeod, they basically had to come in and they pretty much picked up a bit of a mess, used a whole lot of club players and struggled accordingly. The real big difference is with this team, they actually had quite a reasonably good pre-season. They'd signed about 18 or 19 players before the season ended, the year ended last year, beg your pardon. But I just think the problem is once they've had these injuries, I think it started to bite. Really honourable of the coaches to look at club players, but at Mitre 10 Cup level, when you're coming up against teams with better squads, you're going to get beaten. And you can see that. I'll give you an example. Counties is probably a union who's not a big union, and you can see when injuries start to bite, it really does hurt. And if you haven't got that depth, boy, it's going to be a struggle. And that's where you actually really ask for the players to stand up. I mean, so I really feel for the coaching staff, because they really do wear their heart on the sleeve, and I know they're hurting at the moment, along with the supporters out there. But speaking of supporters, they got the best supporters ever. The crowds still turn out, and they just need a winning team. For end of story.
They do. I mean, we had a chat with the head coach pre-game off the record, but you could just see how much he was hurting and how upset he was before the game. Never mind after it. Any idea? Junior Lalofi played 15 for Turbos last year. Not sure where he is up to. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that, MJ. I can't enlighten you on that. Let's have a quick look at the tables then.
Oh yes. Oh. I know who he's talking about. He's talking about the boy who played for the Reds. And he was very good for the Turbos in 2018. But no, I don't know where that young fellow has headed off to. But yeah, he was very good. A lot of pace. I know he picked up an injury towards the latter part of 2018. But speed to burn.
Right then, we'll just quickly run through the Mitre 10 Cup, the tables. So Tasman's still top on 28 points. They're 7 points clear of Wellington in the Premiership. We then have Auckland 2 points further back on 19 points, and Canterbury 1 point further back on 18 points. So the top 4 that we predicted pre-season as being in the playoffs are now the top 4 in the table. As much as it looked, it's taken a while for us to get there, but it's starting to settle down now. It feels. Waikato in 5th with 16 points. North Harbour in 7th with 15 points, and Counties bottom of the table with 11 points. So they're 4 points now behind North Harbour, and if they're not careful, they're going to start. Seeing a bit of a gap form above them, and with only 4 games left, that could prove fatal for them and relegation. Looking at and I guess one point, both Tasman and Canterbury have both gone past 200 points scored, but Tasman still have only had 54 points scored against them, which is less than half than anyone else. So yeah, defend being really big. Tasman's big thing. Looking at the Championship, Hawke's Bay top the table. They haven't lost yet on 28 points as well. Bay of Plenty as second in 21 with 21 points, so 7 points behind Hawke's Bay. It's going to be really interesting when they face each other in a couple of weekends' time. I'm looking forward to being at Battle of the Bays. Otago sit in third on 16 points, so 5 points behind Bay of Plenty. I expect the Bays are looking like the two teams that are going to finish first and second in that championship. Taranaki now sat in fourth with 14 points, so 2 points behind Otago. Then it's Manawatu on 11, who have picked up 2 wins, but you've got to point out that those 2 wins have been against the bottom 2 sides that are below them. So that's probably them done as far as wins go this season. Northland on 5 points, and then Southland last on 2 points. David says both top fours are almost locked on. Yeah, that's probably true. So I wouldn't call it boring to the end of the season, but it is looking rather predictable. I do think. So yes, that's where we'll leave the Champion Mitre 10 Cup there. We'll have a very quick look at the Farah Palmer Cup. North Harbour lost to Hawke's Bay 10-39. Northland lost to Otago 5-40. And that's what this is Northland's first season in this competition, so that's kind of what we're expecting. So yeah, not that surprised by that one. Taranaki 22, Tasman 36, Manawatu 12, Waikato 15. Waikato in the, I can't remember if they're in the finals or semi-finals last year. So that's which they needed that win. Bay of Plenty 19, Auckland 28. Auckland having a really good season after coming last season in the Premiership.
Yes, I was going to say, Paul, good bounce back from Auckland after last week, because they got well and truly hammered. So that's a good hit back against a Bay of Plenty team that's been travelling reasonably well. Remembering the week before, they only lost by 3 points. They haven't had a win thus far this season, but not an easy team to beat.
No, not at all. Yeah, Auckland go up against Canterbury. A lot of sides are going to struggle against Canterbury, to be honest. And then finally, Wellington beat Counties Manukau 38-36. That one sounds like it was a cracker. And two of the top sides. So that means.
I actually watched it, Paul. It was a very good game. It looked like Counties Manukau were actually going to hang on in the end, but. Wellington they just hung in there more than anything else, and probably a yellow card near the end pretty much put seal to Counties being one player down. But I was really impressed with both the Wellington locks Levave and also Ngam Woon, who just carried brilliantly into contact. They were really hard to put down, and if anything, this competition is pretty much highlighting there's some really good young girls coming through.
Yes, absolutely. Now, unfortunately, they're being a little bit let down by the administration because the official site hasn't had its tables updated yet. So I've had to go to the Tribe Sports app to get an updated table. Unfortunately, on that table, Counties Manukau top at the moment on 12. Canterbury second on 10, but Canterbury have played one less game, so Canterbury still are the team to beat, but those two are looking good. Auckland sit in third, also on 10 points, and Wellington in fourth, also on 10 points. So, and it's early. It's still early because Waikato have got a game in hand, but those top four are looking good. Waikato then in fifth on 4 points, Bay of Plenty on 3, and Manawatu on 1. Manawatu's problem is they're not quite as big as some of the other teams up front in their scrum, and they got a bit bullied by counties when I saw them play. So they're going to find it a bit difficult when against some of the larger packs. Down in the Championship, Otago Spirit top the table on 10 points, with Hawke's Bay also on 10 points. Tasman then on 5, North Harbour on 4, Taranaki on 1, and Northland on 1. And I'm expecting Taranaki and Northland to, again, Taranaki first season last season, Northland it's their first season this season. They've also lost. They had 2 Black Firm locks, but unfortunately they've lost those 2 players. Again, depth is not a strength of this competition. So if you lose a couple of key players like that, you're going to struggle. So good luck to Taranaki and Northland. It's going to be a long season for them, but hopefully they'll enjoy their rugby. And in the Championship, there's no bye, so they've all played 2 games. Coming up then next week, we have Hawke's Bay versus Taranaki. Waikato Bay of Plenty will be a cracker. I'll be at that game. That's part of a double header. Versus Manawatu. Yeah, Manawatu. Otago versus Tasman and Auckland. That should be a cracker. I'll be at that one as well at Eden Park. So Auckland Mitre 10 Cup game. Oh, and finally Northland versus North Harbour as well. Forward then to next weekend's Mitre 10 Cup games. Canterbury versus Manawatu. Well, Manawatu, you've got your 2 wins. Be happy. I'm back in Canterbury.
Oh boy, lots going to depend on. I just wonder how Canterbury come through with those injuries. But let's not forget they had a lot of firepower sitting back down in Christchurch. The likes of Luke Romano, he'll probably slide back into the team, and a couple of others. Yeah, I agree. I only see one winning here, and it'll be Canterbury. They're on a bit of a roll, and 12 and over, fair to say.
Yeah, and some. Hawke's Bay versus Taranaki. Taranaki. We've already pointed out. Hawke's Bay haven't lost all season. The 2 bays are the top 2 sides in the Championship. Yeah. Hawke's Bay by 5 for me. Taranaki now starting to struggle. 2 of their wins, I think, have been against Manawatu and Southland. So, Taranaki, starting to struggle now.
Yeah, I think 12 and under is probably the way to go. But I think, you're right. The home team will take this one. They'll want to keep the momentum going because I believe it's going to be really important to see who finishes as top dog in that competition. Hawke's Bay will want to remain unbeaten before they play Bay of Plenty at the end of this month. I think it's Saturday or Sunday. Tauranga.
That's right. That's when I'll be down. I'll be down in Tauranga for that game. We then have Waikato versus Tasman. I'll be at that game. Tasman by 10 for me.
I hate to say it. I think they'll probably be a bit disappointed by their own standards against North Harbour yesterday, even though they took the win. I agree.
Yep. Southland versus Counties Manukau. Yep. Well, Southland, your chance was last weekend, and you blew it. Counties by 10 for me. Maybe I'm being a bit nice to Southland there.
Is that in Invercargill?
That's in Invercargill, yes.
Counties, but only by 12 and under.
So, if I was Counties, I'd also rest some players. If anyone's got a niggle, I wouldn't take them personally. Perhaps I'm being a bit disrespectful, but sorry, but Southland haven't won in 2 years. That's why. So, North Harbour versus Otago. Otago will be saving everybody and everything to play Waikato the following weekend in the Ranfurly Shield game. They can't play away from home. North Harbour by 7. Yeah,
Otago will be better than what they were yesterday, but ultimately, I think North Harbour they'll be seething about that result yesterday.
Yep. Auckland versus Wellington. I'm going to be at this one. Again, this one should be again should be a cracker. I'm going Auckland by 5, but to get to Eden Park because that's a top 4 clash for a good reason.
Game of the weekend. Wow.
Yep.
I think Auckland will probably want to bring some guns back. A lot will be dependent if they can bring the likes of Dalton Papali back into the team. But this is a fascinating battle because the Wellington is a very high octane team, as we know. Man, it's a hard one to pick, Paul. Probably the home. I'm a bit like you. Probably the home side, but not by much.
Yeah, I would say that one is Wellington's backs are hard to contain, but still, Auckland will try and make this an arm wrestle as much as possible. Expect a lot of stuff going on around the ruck. Northland versus Bay of Plenty. As we've just said, Northland, if they can find sort of 23 players to put on the pitch, that'll be good. Bay of Plenty by 15.
I'll be on a plane on my way back from Cairns, Paul. So
the lengths you go to avoid seeing bad information, eh?
To avoid not commentating a game. No, they unfortunately love the Taniwha with a passion, but unfortunately, I can see Bay of Plenty 20 points plus.
Absolutely. So, thank you very much, Nightbot, who has just put a message in the live chat saying that become a member of the pack and push the Driving Maul forward, which basically means become a supporter of Driving Maul and click on that link where you can become a supporter of Driving Maul and get exclusive access to some of my behind-the-scenes chats with people like radio commentators. The messages from my experiences in a coach's box the other weekend, talking to some referees post-game as well. And David asks at the top there, he thinks it's good to be doing these innings to go, but are we perhaps not giving them enough support? Because yes, there has been a high level of inconsistency in the refereeing of the Mitre 10 Cup this year. Now, I'm not sure if part of that does come from the fact that we've all the experienced refs will be away for the Rugby World Cup, so we've lost a couple through that, and a few more who've been sort of covering internationals recently, which is why I'm missing a few. But refs are going to be given. I've got to get experience somewhere. This is the right competition for it, but they do need more support, I think, because yes, we have it hasn't been up to scratch this season.
Now, Paul, just before we close off, just done a little bit of research in and around Junior Laloi, who played for Manawatu in 2018. Now, he played 4 games for the Asia Pacific Dragons in Rapid Rugby earlier this year. Yeah, nice bell, Paul.
Well, I'm about to say, but keep going.
Now, just from what I've seen here, he signed with Zebri. Is it Zebri and Zebre? Zebre in Italy for 2019. That's what I'm seeing here. But yeah, very good footballer. So that's where Junior Lalofui is at the minute.
Congratulations on his professional contract over in Italy. Don't forget to subscribe and get the bell on, so you get all the notifications when we go live and all the videos that I put up. And yes, thank you everybody for joining us in the live chat. Thank you everybody who's listening as well. And enjoy your round of Mitre 10 Cup action. Yes, there is Rugby World Cup action, but as you've heard, I will be at Waikato and for the Parapama Cup and the Mitre 10 Cup. I will also be at Eden Park for the Farah Palmer Cup and Mitre 10 Cup as well this weekend. Don't worry, Mitre 10 Cup. My coverage of Mitre 10 Cup is not going anywhere soon. It's going to be I will be covering it all the way through the Rugby World Cup as well. So please do become a supporter of Driving Maul to support me bringing you this, because as I say, I'm doing it, no one else is. And if you want this sort of coverage, then please do support me, because I do need the support.
Just
go on.
Just before you stop, if anybody wants to have a chat to me, I'm on at Stephen73_H. That's my Twitter account. I'll say it again. At Stephen73_H.
Catchy. Oh, dearie me. So yes, have a chat with Stephen on Twitter. So yeah, he commentates most of the Northland games on Radio Sport, and does watch an awful lot of rugby. Probably
too much.
Probably more than me, even, which is kind of scary. Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's wrap this up. Good night.